Nick. So the floor is yours, Nick.
Got it. Thank you. Uh, Good evening, good morning, whatever, to everyone. I'm in Tokyo now, where I've been here for 30 years, almost. This angel idea or problem came to me when Father, after the match, we had the holy wine. In 79, there was no blessing. And he said, now you're able to speak to God directly. I was raised a little bit as a Catholic.
Hey, Nick, sorry to interrupt, but we can't see your face. At least I cannot see your face.
Sorry, I don't know why. Okay.
There we go.
So I started asking two questions that from my old Catholic background. One, Catholics said that angels were to sing praises to God 24/7. And the next one was that the angels were there to intercede for humankind, for fallen people. So my question: so are the angels gonna be sent to pasture? My first reaction was, that's not God's way. So over the many, many years, decades, I struggled with that question, wondering what the real answer was. Then I started by accident finding answers. And the first answer, well, first let me get into a few anecdotes here about this. Mr. Otani was the head of the Unification Thought International, was the vice president of Unification Thought International and the head of Unification Thought in Japan. And I was with them for 17 years until he died. And on many occasions, I would confront him with this angel thought, with the problem that I had, and he could not answer. The very last time I met him before the next symposium, which never happened, and then he died, he, with a sleight of hand, said, anyway, we don't know much about angels. And I forcefully answered, because they don't exist. Remember, this is after many conversations. And he was very shocked. He stopped there and said, oh, you mean it's a metaphor? I said, yes. That was it. About 32 weeks to the date after he passed, he came to my wife in a dream and asked to live in my home. Like, wow, live in my home. I know his wife, I know his family. Why would he want to live in my home? That's enough for now on anecdotes. I began reading Father's speeches from 1955 on, a few years ago. And it's basically my morning prayer, my morning hundake is one of Father's speeches. So that's been over 4 years now. And from that, I was able to get many, many, many insights into Father's words, things that you don't get by reading Cheonsang Gyang, things like that, little nuances which are not given to us. Okay, so how do I go about making this this idea, this presentation? How can I allow this kind of thinking without criticizing principle, Father, or something, restoration, that type of thing? And the only way I could finally figure out that I could do it is using the idea of ODU, origin, subject, object, and union. In the subject position, I put principle, restoration, unification, that all these things that we cannot touch. And we cannot touch them because we are in restoration. This is something that Father set up, and we cannot go against it. That is the subject position. So when we have, like right now, conversations, and we have questions, we have doubts, we have many things that's inside of us, how do we bring it out? A lot of people would say, well, don't spread negativity. Other people would say, we're not supposed to ask those questions, just deal with it. And other things like that. So when you have the object position, then you're free to speak anything you want, legitimately, without going against the principle, without going against Father, without going against anything. In other words, in the object position, we're dealing with the real world. In the subject position, with the principle, with the restoration, all that, that's Father's world. We cannot go against him. We cannot touch it. So by dealing or by living in this object position, then we are free to develop our minds, develop our personalities, also in a horizontal way. And then the union becomes what we make of our lives, what we make of our thoughts and our beliefs. And it doesn't have to go against the principle. The physical world is the physical world. The world of religion, the world of the Bible, of the principle, is another world that comes from, is extracted from the real world, and then we become we make a restoration. If you look at the real world events in history, you'll see that the divine principle doesn't go against those events, or I should say, even, for example, the numbers. In restoration, you have numbers like the 3 and the 4 and the 7, 21. All these numbers are restoration numbers. And so what I have seen is that the divine principle, religion, even the Bible, takes real world events, converts them to principle numbers and events, and then that's how we have restoration. All right. The principle will not contradict the Bible. As a matter of fact, the purpose of the principle is to perfect the Bible so that we can restore ourselves, the world. Why did Father choose the Bible? I remember him saying, because in the Bible, it talks about lineage, something that the Quran or the Torah does not mention, or any other religion. Father gave his blood, sweat, and tears to create his messianic mission. So that's why we cannot mess around with what I call here now the subject position. In the object position, we deal with science, the real world, history, etc. And in the union position, we have solutions. We figure things out, and this is why Father gave us some non-restoration insights. At Belvedere, Father said many, many strange things over the years, which just took like what is Father saying? Why is he saying this? And only after some decades, in some cases, like, oh, I understand what Father is saying. But it did take a long time. Now what I'm going to do is There are four main points that I'm going to bring up in this angel thought. One, Father in the principle mentions Swedenborg 2 times. And yet I've asked many people, have you read Swedenborg? And almost everyone said no. Swedenborg's main topic was there are no angels. So when I say that, then people have to start thinking, okay, well, let's start reading Swedenborg. Ms. Young Kim, I only saw her a few times at Belvedere, but I never met her. She wrote an article in the very early 1960s in one of our church publications, which is on tparents.org. And it's an article on angelology. That's what it's called. And what she says is that the angel thought comes from Zoroastrianism. Zoroastrianism was developed and grew in Babylon at the time of or around the time of the Jewish captivity, Israeli captivity. So they went to Babylon in over many generations, knowing that they could not follow their own beliefs from back home. They imported or they absorbed the angel, among other things, the angel thought, and introduced this into our Judeo-Christian beliefs. Abraham was blessed because he believed in God only, nothing else. There was nothing else to worship, just God. So my belief is that when the Israelites came back to Israel and started creating, formally putting together their belief system, in came the angel with it. Something that I believe God did not approve of. One more very important point in the principle states that the spirit cannot grow without a physical body. If the angel indeed did exist, it would go against the principle. The spirits have to have, or all beings have, with a spirit, have to have a physical body. If not, they cannot grow and perfect themselves. I think here it's on in the principle, page 48 and 49. So. Now a little bit of so what is all this angel about? Well, in the early days in the church, when we had no answers, we would say, oh, it's spiritual. Why did this happen? Or what is this story? Or give me an answer for this. It's spiritual, which has no meaning. So I think in the Bible, it's exactly the same thing. If they could not or would not or had no answer, they would call it's an angel. Maybe they didn't want to give the name for some reason. It was politically correct or just protection. When you look at the idea of the angel, you'll see that the shamans around the world who claim to be able to see all the spirits and around that, we never hear of the word angel coming from them. The angels only are spoken of in the 3 monotheistic religions. No one else talks about angels, mentions them. Father often used the word angelic. As a matter of fact, I heard that one of the things he wanted to do when he went to spirit world was restore the angelic world. So for me, the angelic world is the world that is not centered on true parents. In Zoroastrianism, Zoroaster himself believed in a single God, but it seems that his followers down the line, some years, generations, there was a devolution, a breakdown of their belief system, and it became a belief of attributes. The angel of this, or the love of this, the God of love, the God of trees, the God of many things. And so the single God broke down to its attributes. And those attributes became angels. The God of equaled the angel of. And as a very interesting side note, it seems that the Greek, Roman, Germanic, and whatever gods are like a different branch of the same breakdown of Zoroastrian thought of a single God. All right. So that's right now basically it. But what I'm going to do next is I'm going to give some quotes that I found reading Father's speeches over the years. Now I have several quotes, and they are in order of date, and some of them are not actually related to angels, but they are very much interested or related to our restoration here. This is a very interesting quote. Father says, this is May 18th, 1978. It says, the position of elder brother and younger brother among twins born an hour or two earlier can never be asserted, like brothers who are 1 year or more apart. So it makes you start thinking about Jacob and Esau, for example. If they were twins, then where does the whole restoration between elder and younger come from twins? Next, June 1st, 1983. Those PhDs in religion and theology become the obstacles for their religious practice. Those persons insist that they studied it all, that they are trying to judge things by their own knowledge. Persons with a great amount of erudite knowledge will probably never have opportunity to be spiritually attuned. But a grandmother in the countryside, totally uneducated, who totally gives the credit to God and the spirit world, then the sentence goes strange. By doing so, great things can happen. Let's say the intellectual person who has already done something great, already attributes that success to himself. I have a PhD and I can do this much. He takes the credit to himself, and spirit world is cut off. From the very beginning in the church, the leaders really did not like spiritual members. They were very uneasy with them. And yet here on the same day, June 1st, 1983, in every state, you need at least 3 spiritual people so that you can accept and learn spiritual changes through them. Now, I consider myself a spiritual person, and I know I very directly asked the leader here, I like to meet more elder spiritual people, and he absolutely cut me off. denied me. Now, this one here, which is also June 1st, 1983, he was talking to the members who are not curious. He says, you Moonies, he used the word Moonies, by the way. You Moonies are the last people to know because you don't study, you don't investigate. Next, what Father does, he does for a reason. And you leaders should have figured out the reason. So in other words, Father does a lot of things. When we were at the News World, Father had us, and maybe Klaus, you remember this, we had to print the UFOs and other cosmic phenomena. You remember that? A weekly supplement at the News World. And most of our members who were writers and were out in the public were very unhappy with that. Why is Father making us write things about like the UFOs? We were trying to become a serious paper. I remember Cheryl Smith was one that said that. Another one here. Okay, May 1st, 1984. In Spirit World, they will ask you where you're from, meaning what planet are you from? And I don't think he was talking about our being spaced out. I think he was talking about in a very real way. This goes with this UFO supplement, I guess, in that around that era. Father was very serious and interested in, let's call it ETs. I think that's part of his mission in the long run, or at least he wanted to connect us to them. I've read a lot of Sumerian stories in history, and it's something that the Bible has completely cut off. Through the Adam and Eve story, we've been cut off from history that predates us. There's a quote here. I'll give it to you in a minute. Another quote here. Also made April 1st, 1987. Father says, Moonies, yeah, he always talks about Moonies in a very negative way. Moonies have to think about things others don't think about. I'm not a Moonie. Then in the same speech, he goes down and says, the cleaning process, okay, like the salvation, original sin type of thing, the cleaning process will take tens of thousands of years in order to remove all the evil elements. May 12th, 1991, Father says, Adam and Eve were the first messiahs. No, he didn't say the first father, the first children. We're the first messiahs. And I think what the implication there was that mankind, or humankind, is very, very old. Next, November 3rd, 1991. And this goes with somewhere I talked before earlier. Do you think God prepared the table for Adam and Eve and called them to come to eat? Or did they do it themselves? Some members should do things by themselves. I think this is a direct quote that we have to build Chanukuk, basically. Then here's another strange quote from March 15, 92. Father is not going to tell you everything. That is up to you to research. Don't be lazy. Now here's a very interesting one. Listen to this. This is April 24th, 1992. By the way, all these speeches I got on tparents.org, which is down right now. So Father says, but there are several holes in the principle which no one knows what it is. Even the books containing True Father's speech, they don't cover this. That's very, very heavy stuff. That opens the door to a lot of discussion, to a lot of conversation or whatever. And here, maybe last one. It says, tens of millions of years, tens of millions of years. And I think in Japanese and Korean, you use the word oku, like okumatse. Oku means hundreds of millions, 100 million. So when Father says, or when it's translated to tens of millions of years, means hundreds of millions of years have passed since the creation of humankind. Now, this I think goes very well with this whole thing of the ETs and UFOs and all that. It is not just 6,000 years, as the Bible indicates, based on the history of cultures recorded in its pages. Actually, it has been tens of millions of years since God decided to begin the providence of salvation. So, okay, so I had to write my conclusion after that yesterday. I think a lot of us here are very, very open-minded, which unfortunately I can't say about many other members. We've been, for years, well, since I joined anyway, we've been brainwashed, so they say. We need to be free, we need to open, we need to think freely without feeling that, I'm going against the principle. I remember one sister saying, when did Father say that? Where's that in the principle? I had another very negative experience with a few American brothers here in Japan. When I asked them about 9/11, what do you think of 9/11? And they looked at me, 6 pairs of eyes stared at me. Why do you talk about that? Are you a member of H2's group? I was muzzled. We were stifled. In other words, these are 6 elder brothers from leading many church activities, especially related to the seminary. I was being muzzled. I was not free to give my opinion. Instantly, I was pointed, okay, you're part of H2, because I had my freedom of thought. So please be yourself, open up, and just lead the church in a positive way. Ijo, that's it. Thank you.